The Last Summit is a diplomacy and puzzle game for 3 to 8 players. Each player will take on the role of a tribal leader after the apocalypse, called together to see if they can rebuild society. Will everyone pool their resources, calm public opinion and create a new nation? Or will they take advantage of the moment to conquer the world all on their own? Choose your cards and words carefully, because a moving speech can change the world. Welcome to my Kickstarter preview of The Last Summit. Hey everyone, this is Seth Eggers, and today I'm bringing you my Kickstarter preview of The Last Summit. A big thanks to Quill Gaming for providing me with a preview copy. In this game, players will play cards to gather resources and move public opinion for one issue on the crisis track. This track shows what the public thinks about all 5 different issues: engineering, war, intel, food, and environment. At the end of the game, the group wants all 5 issues balanced in the center of the track. Alternatively, one player can claim victory for themselves if they play their cards right. As usual, I'll go over setup and gameplay before I'll give you my review. Of course, I'll again include timestamps so you can jump to the section that interests you the most. Bonus points if you watch the entire video. Let me begin with the setup. First, place the playmat in the center of the table. Next, shuffle the cards in the info deck and place them here in the lower left. Randomly place 4 issue tokens with the dark unfunded side face up on the spaces -5, -4, +4, and +5. Place 1 card from the info deck face up in the minutes pile. This serves as the discard pile as you know it from other games. If it's a card with a negative value, place the 5th issue on -3, and if it's a positive value, place it on +3. Then take the 9 VIP meeples and place them on this gray space here in the middle of the mat. Next, hand out a reference card to every player and give the speaker card to the starting player. The game rules suggest you pick the player who most recently voted. Sure, you can do that. But I got something better. You all go on my channel and open the Component Monday playlist and watch it from the start. Whoever can name the correct game of the shown component before the end of that short receives a point. The person who first accumulates 10 points wins and becomes the starting player. If you finish the playlist before any of you reach 10 points, you definitely need to play more board games. And the person with the most points becomes the starting player. And if there's a tie, just watch another one of my reviews and use the method mentioned there of determining a starting player. After the starting player has been determined, deal cards to each player depending on the player count. In a game with 3 people, each player receives 6 cards. In a game with 4 or 5 players, everyone receives 5 cards. And in a game with 6 to 8 players, everybody gets 4 cards. If all players have received their cards, each player takes a look at their hand and places one face down in front of them. This is their first investment. I'll talk about investments a bit later. Now you're ready to start the game. The goal of the game is to end the game by having all issues in the center gray area of the playmat, while having all issues funded, which means having them turned over to the light side. I'll tell you later how that can be achieved. If you manage to do that, then you have achieved world peace. If you manage to have all issues in the center but at least one of them is unfunded, then you all lose the game since your efforts led to a failed state. If only one issue is outside of the gray area, you did not manage to convince the public, which leads to them blindly following the person who has the most resources in the issues farthest from 0. Then that person wins by themselves, being the tyrant. These are the 3 endgame states. Now let us talk about the actual gameplay. A game round is divided into 4 steps in a specific order. Let me go over all of those now. First up is the rumor and agenda phase. Here you set the topics for the day. The speaker turns over the first card from the info deck and places it in the rumor section. This is the topic discussed and rumored by the public. Then the speaker needs to use their first action to set the agenda by playing a card from their hand in the agenda section, which needs to display a different topic than the one in the rumor section. The next phase consists of the players choosing one action each in clockwise order. Play goes around the table twice, so each player can choose 2 actions per game round. The speaker has already taken their first action by playing a card into the agenda. Then it's the player's turn to the left of the speaker. Let me go over all possible actions you can take during your turn now. Action 1. Debate. Play 1 card from your hand into either the rumor or the agenda. The card must match the issue played in the respective section. Then draw 2 cards from the info deck. This lets you not only work towards the objective, but also stock up on cards, and that is very important. Action 2. Strategize. Draw 2 cards from the info deck and take them into your hand. Then place 2 cards from your hand at the bottom of the info deck. This gives you the opportunity to work toward a better hand. Action 3. Invest. Place 1 card from your hand face down in front of you as an investment into a topic. Then turn your face down investment face up. This may help you to avert future crises, but also invest into a topic so that its respective marker is closer to being turned over. If you turn over an investment face up, check the dots in the top left corner. If the number of dots is higher than the player count, that issue is funded. In this example, you turn over the issue environment. You check the dots of all environment cards in the investment area of each player. There are 6 of them and you are 4 players. So the issue is funded and you can turn its token over. This is very important because you need it to win the game, together as a group. Action 4. Parrot. This action lets you choose any card from the minutes, which is the discard pile. Show it to the other players and place it into your hand. Action 5. Network. Give one of your VIPs to another player. As simple as that. After all actions have been taken, the speaker asks if anyone wants to use their VIPs. I'll speak about those in just a bit. Then the speaker closes the floor by counting down from 3. Afterwards, one topic will affect the public opinion. Compare the added values of the rumors as well as the agenda. The one that is furthest from 0 will be the one that affects public opinion. Move the respective marker by as much as the added value of the cards indicate. In this example, engineering amounts to -1 and Intel to +2. Intel is farther from 0 and the one affecting public opinion this round, so the Intel marker will be moved 2 spaces to the right. Then check if a crisis occurs. This is the case when a marker reaches this space or that one. A crisis needs to be averted by players placing cards under the reference cards. Move the respective marker by as much as the added value of all discarded cards indicates. If the crisis can't be averted like this, the players immediately lose the game. After the topic and potential crisis have been dealt with, VIPs will be distributed among the players. The speaker receives a VIP only if the agenda was the topic that affected public opinion this round. Then the speaker counts down from 3. When reaching 0, each player points to one they think they should receive a VIP. Of course, players can make a case of why they should receive a VIP beforehand. The player who has received the most votes will receive a VIP. Then the game round ends. The speaker card is passed on to the next player and a new round begins as long as there is still at least one VIP available on the game board. By the way, a VIP lets you take an extra action. Simple but efficient. The game ends either if all VIPs have been removed from the game board or, as mentioned before, if a crisis made the players lose early. Then you check for the endgame outcome like I detailed them at the beginning of the video. Winning together by achieving world peace, losing by implementing a failed state, or having a sole victor as the tyrant. And that is how you play the last summit. But what do I think about the game? Well, let me tell you. Let me start with the outer appearance as usual. This is supposed to be a prototype which you can hardly see. The component quality is great. The playmat feels nice and gives the game a real premium feel. Also, the cards have a really nice quality and the tokens as well as meeples are made from wood, which I appreciate. Also, the form factor of the game box, if you want to call it that, is really unique. The last summit makes a really great first impression. I also like the rather simplified artwork. It looks quite unique. What I would change is the appearance of the symbols in the upper left corner, since they're not only small but quite hard to read on some cards. But apart from that, components and artwork are great. What I haven't mentioned yet are the planned stretch goals. These include a scoreboard for experienced players that includes the solo and 2-player modes, the tokens that help track agenda and rumor values, as well as the addendum cards. The latter will actually be included in the campaign from the start and alter the playing experience, increasing the replayability. A great addition I highly appreciate. I also generally enjoy the political theme. Let me take you through part of my private life. Although I have a different workplace nowadays, I did study the Bachelor and Master of Education to become a teacher for English as well as political science. So yes, political topics are vastly underrepresented in board games. It is quite tough to convey political messages in board games while still making those games fun. Because that is one of the most important aspects. You should have fun while playing a game. Otherwise you could just read a book. Honestly, this game is fun. Taking a look at it directly for what it is, it becomes apparent that this is a really interesting and challenging cooperative puzzle, as you're trying to play cards and manage your hand in such a way that you can get all tokens into the center of this track and additionally reserve specific cards so that you can turn over these tokens. While I had fun with the gameplay, this also poses a slight issue. As mentioned, I view this as a puzzle. While it is engaging, it is quite disconnected from the theme in my opinion. When I was trying to explain the game, it was actually made harder by having to explain why the mechanisms are connected to a political theme and what players had to imagine. But what would I suggest? Well, I don't have any issues with the theme at all, but I think you could apply so many different themes to this game. Does it need one? Not really, but if you wanted to go through with the political theme, you could have added facts, quotes or other bits of text to each card that would relate to the topic of the issue. Maybe have speech fragments that would then give a more or less coherent speech about a topic depending on how many points this would add or subtract. That would have been a fun way to enhance the theme. Also, the traitor mechanism was very interesting since it was optional, but the puzzle was engaging enough that we never felt the urge to actually pursue that. Yes, I set everything up in such a way that I helped the group 100%, but also was able to invest in a few topics more than the other players. So we lost one game, for example, but I won by myself as a tyrant. That did work well, but it felt way less satisfying than to win cooperatively as a group. So the mechanism is nice to have, but I would suggest that you first discuss whether or not you want to play with that. It's cool to have the option, but I don't find it strictly necessary to enjoy this game. But let me state again that these are just the thoughts I had while thinking about the theme of the game. I want to repeat that I really enjoyed the puzzle the game presents, even though the rules were a bit clunky at the beginning. It was quite a challenge to get the topics moved, since you don't draw many cards. I would have appreciated more situations where you could draw cards. For example, you could draw one when you invest in a topic, or when you give another player one of your VIPs. All in all, I definitely enjoyed this puzzle. It was challenging and led to a bit of table talk, which not all games manage to do. The theme was a bit disconnected, and I'm unsure about the need of the traitor mechanism, but the game was engaging and the components are great. The game surely is very unique, which is a big plus nowadays with all these new releases every week. If you're interested in the game's gameplay or uniqueness, I definitely suggest you take a look at the campaign of The Last Summit. And that is it, my review of the game The Last Summit. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you for your support. That means a lot to me. I especially want to thank my patrons who are generously supporting me on Patreon. The biggest thanks go out to Thagano, who is currently my biggest supporter. Thank you so much for that. If you would like to support me as well, check out the link to my Patreon in this video's description. As usual, I'm always thankful for a like, comment and especially a subscription. By the way, you can also join my Discord server if you'd like to hang out with us. Alright, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the very next video. Take care everyone, stay safe and cheers.